ready?
Of course I'm not ready!
Stay in this dimension too long, your body's gonna disintegrate.
How could there be two Spider-Men? There can't be two Spider-Men.
You're like me.
Into the Spiderverse was one of the most trash movies I've ever seen. Like, I knew it was gonna be trash based off all the terrible reviews it was getting, but good God, I was not prepared for the shit show that was this movie. Most people know that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is a fresh take on the Spider-Man story we've literally been told 3 different times. This time, however, it tells the story of a new Spider-Man, Miles Morales. What most people don't know is that in order to make this movie, Sony actually had to scrap the most anticipated Spider-Man movie of the decade. Spectacular Spider-Man Far Far From Homecoming 3. Which was basically just going to be an animated version of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, starring Robert Pattinson. Genius. But instead we got this, an incredibly well-written coming-of-age story that takes everything we love about Spider-Man in an entirely new direction. Man, movie studios really are out of touch these days. But yeah, the movie's basically about this kid who gets bitten by this thing and has to team up with this guy and these people in order to stop this guy from doing this thing, or something like that. So, okay, the premise was trash, but what about the animation? This is an animated movie after all. Well, the Spider-Verse without a doubt features some of the worst animation I've ever seen in the industry. I mean, the reviews speak for themselves, with critics describing the style as unique, dynamic, and so good you'll have a minimum of 3 orgasms during the runtime. The animators were clearly using 2010 Adobe Flash to animate most of this movie, and it shows. For comparison, here's a scene from a visual masterpiece and one of my favorite movies of all time, Happily Never After 2. Look at how fluid these characters move. Look at that facial animation. Sony could have given us this, but instead they gave us this. The characters in this movie are completely bland and lifeless. They're all unrelatable and have some pretty predictable character arcs. The version of Peter Parker in this movie is experienced and more mature, and he takes on the role of more of a mentor to Miles, teaching him how to do the whole Spider-Man thing. I guess some people think that's a really cool take on the character. Some people. Definitely not me. Miles' dad may have been an amazing father, but he was probably the worst cop ever. I mean, he let a guy that looks like this literally build a particle accelerator in the subway. How do you let that happen? I will admit that I did cry during this scene though. That shit gave me chills. But who likes to be chilly? As for Miles' Uncle Aaron, I totally saw that twist coming. Also, what is up with this movie and giving people chills? The other spiders were okay, I guess? Like, they definitely weren't a charming and fun addition to the main cast. Not in my opinion. Also, I'm in love with Gwen Stacy. That's not ironic, I'm completely serious. And finally, we have our protagonist, Miles. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, he's a carbon copy of every other Spider-Man out there. He slings webs, he climbs on walls, he does whatever a spider can. Boring. I mean, I guess he has a couple new somewhat interesting powers, and I guess his background adds a unique twist to the character, and maybe his suit is the coolest thing I've ever fucking seen. I mean, look at how. But yeah, 0 out of 10. If you want to watch a movie that actually adds to the source material, check out M. Night Shyamalan's The Lost Airbender.
You see my beautiful angel son,
Miles.
I love him so much. This is my only son. I want him to have a bright future. A future in which you don't ruin our town's day with one of your crazy science dooley bopper things.